Hello, everyone's Forest Focus as Nottingham Forest prepare for a repeat of the most famous fixture in their history when they face Malmo in the Europa League on Thursday. We'll preview the game in full, reflect on all clashes with the Swedish side, and discuss team selection in the company of, first of all, Emily Williamson. Emily, morning, how are you doing?
Oh, very good, thank you. Yes, full of beans, full of joys. Sun shining, just been on a lovely cold dog walk, so I'm very happy to be here with you both.
Well, very happy you're here with us, and also very happy Steve Battlemuch is here. Steve, how are you?
Yeah, good, Matt. Thanks. I'm still smiling and buzzing from being in that away end on Saturday afternoon. It was incredible.
Were you there a year before as well? Were you at
Yeah,
both games?
hello. I mean, the year before seemed surreal because it was completely unexpected, and everybody thought they were going to equalise for the whole of the second half or the whole of the last 20 minutes. Whereas on Saturday, once we got the second goal, we just couldn't see them getting back into it. It's incredible, really.
So, which game was out of curiosity, not in terms of quality and all that, just emotionally being in the away end? Which one struck you more?
Well, I mean, the win the previous year was just so unexpected, and we hadn't beat them up there for 50 odd years. But I have to say, nothing beats being 3-0 up and seeing the ground going empty. It's like it was very, very buzzy in the away end.
Let's talk more about this game, and I guess the way Liverpool, the victory of Liverpool, perhaps changes how we view this game and how we view everything. We're going to talk towards the end about winning the Europa League, so it might change a few things. Emily, how are you feeling going into this match on Thursday?
Really excited. I'm not old enough to remember that the big Malmo game. I'm sure Steve will talk about that, but I know there's so much history attached to this fixture anyway, isn't there? We've played them in the 90s and obviously in the European Cup final. Really excited. I too am still absolutely buzzing from Liverpool. I had the pleasure of listening to Colin Fray on Radio Nottingham. That's the only way I could get it on Saturday, and it was just brilliant to listen to. And I was so desperate to be there, so really jealous of you, Steve. But I think you deserve that joyous afternoon. But yeah, I think we go into this with no pressure on us really. Obviously, we want to win the game. Malmo have had a terrible Europa League campaign so far. I don't think they're doing too well or they've done too well in their own league. They've finished quite badly for them, I think. So yeah, there's it's going to be a great atmosphere down at the City Ground again on Thursday night. I'll be there cheering Forest on, and I feel confident. I feel very confident. But I'm very much, you'll see from my team selection, I'm very much sort of trying to protect our golden boys, and I think there should be a lot of rotation.
Yeah, I've recorded the opposition preview with the Malmo journalist, and I mean they're coming off a hellish season, and they've not done very well in this. And the reason I put in the slide is this must win is because I mean the bookmakers' odds, I think Malmo are 15-1 in a 2-horse race. So I mean we really should be winning this game, and we'll get into that obviously. Emily referenced the history of the fixture, Steve. I partly got you on. Obviously, you're a lovely guy, but also because you went to both games in 1995, 96. I don't know if you, I don't ask how old you are, but I don't know if you went in 1979 as well. But talk to us a bit about the history of the fixture from your personal experience.
Yeah, so when we won the European Cup, I was 15 when Colin Barrett put the second in the Scousers net, and that is the game that I remember more than any, being in the old East Stand, as it was called, standing up next to Liverpool fans. I didn't go to the European Cup final. I was 16. I had no means of getting there, no money, no people to go with or whatever. Watched it on telly like most Nottingham people did. I think it was on the BBC. And just remember the elation at school the next day, that a team like us had won the European Cup. I mean, it was just off the scale. But in 95, I was early 30s, and I just thought, I've got to go, and we went on a organised trip independently of the club, which Fred Reacher was the chairman at the time, and sort of put something in the post saying, if you don't go with the club, you might be banned for life or whatever. But a group of us went, and we had 2 nights in Copenhagen, a ferry over to Malmo. It was brilliant, apart from the fact that we lost 2-1.
Let's talk more about this game then, Emily, from the Malmo point of view. And I know the club are doing stuff on Thursday night, and they're going to make a big show of it, which is going to be really good to see. There is so much history around it, but it's a game we really have to win, I guess, when you look at the Europa League table. As you said, Malmo finished 6th in the league, not played since November the 9th, which people might not be aware of as their league has finished. I mean, we don't know too much about their players. They've got Pontus Jansson, they've got Robin Olsen, who were in the Premier League recently, but we really should be winning this game, shouldn't we?
Yeah, 100% we should be winning this game, and the bookies will tell you that we should be winning. But the last thing we should do is go in complacent and expect to win, because we know what happens when we expect to win games. You know, the one that sticks in my mind is Leicester City at home at the end of the season, and we ended up drawing against one of the worst teams in the Premier League, if not the worst. So no, and I don't think Sean Dyche strikes me as the sort of coach that will take any game for granted, and he won't take any win for granted. So I suspect it will just be business as usual for the players this week, getting ready for Thursday's game. It would be really nice if we could set the tone quite early doors, maybe get an early goal, and give some of the players that don't normally get a run out at the City ground a chance to shine. It's times like this when it's a real shame that Hutchinson's not in the squad at the moment, because it feels like this would be the perfect fixture for him to shine. And when I was thinking about my team selection, my immediate thought was Hutchinson. I was like, no, of course he's not in the Europa squad. And actually, I know the focus for many needs to still be on the Premier League. I totally get that. But, if we can get an automatic spot in the Europa League, that just gives us a little bit of break after Christmas, doesn't it? We haven't got to go through the hell of potential playoffs in the Europa League. So for me, if we can just sneak into that top 8, that would be perfect. And what better way to start than against Malmo on Thursday?
As Ian says, do us a favour, hit like and subscribe. That would be really helpful. Pat and a few others are reminiscing about the great memories of Europe and Malmo and 1980 against Hamburg, obviously, and all that kind of stuff, which is brilliant. Steve, you're a well-prepared guest. Emily referenced about, top 8, trying to get through. You've had a look at what it might take. I mean, is it still... I think we're 23rd at the moment, so we're only just in the playoff zone. Is it still possible to get in the top 8 from your point of view?
Yeah, if you look at last year's table, I mean, the first thing to note is that Man U and Spurs both finished 3rd and 4th, but Lazio and Athletic Club finished above them and obviously didn't get to the final. Rangers finished 8th, and they had 4 wins, 2 draws and 2 defeats. So it's perfectly possible for us to get 4 wins, win the next 2 games we've got. We're on the way. But what I noticed this year in the table is that the top 7 or 8 teams already have got quite a lot of points. So, if we get into that top 8, we're probably going to be scraping in 7th, 8th. And last year, both the team that finished 8th compared to the team that finished 9th, 10th, 11th, and the same at 24th to get into the playoffs against 25th, 26th, were all determined on goal difference. Because, there's only 8 games, so there's not many points that you can have a points difference. So in some of these games, we've got to start scoring some goals to hope that goal difference. And Malmo is the obvious one to start that with.
How bothered are you, Emily, about top 8 versus top 24? We'll talk about the teams that are viable contenders to win the competition in a bit. But is it a big factor for you, or is it just get through?
I think if you'd have asked me this a week or so ago, I'd have said I just want to get through to the playoff stage, and by any means possible. But I'm a real bugger for if Forest have a good game. I think that we will never lose a game again. So I'm currently just feeling like we're just champions already. So no, I as I said, I think that just getting into that top 8, if we possibly could, it obviously sounds less likely when you look at the teams that have got points already. But if we could sneak into that top 8, then that'd be perfect. But that would suggest that we'd probably have to win the majority of our games left in the Europa League, which isn't, it's not unachievable, is it? We got a surprise win against Porto at the City ground. They were one of the favourites for the whole thing. So it's not the end of the world if we go in through the playoffs, but I think in an ideal world, it'd be nice if Forest could sneak in 7th or 8th.
Just before we go to a break, Emily made a good point, Steve, about I'm much more confident Dyche won't let us slip up than the previous manager might have done. It feels like we're assuming victory to some degree. I don't think he's the type of manager that would do that, is he?
No, I don't think so. But we're all Forest fans long in the tooth, aren't we? We've all been to games where you pull off a great win and then you play someone who's like a lesser team 3 days later and you lose. And we've got to stop that mentality, haven't we? I mean, it's obviously completely different teams to when we're those games that we're all thinking about after beating Leeds in the Championship, and then you lose to Charlton or whatever it was. But I think Dyche, if anything, I think Dyche might not make loads of changes. I mean, I think we all think he needs to make some, and he might learn some lessons from the Bournemouth stuff. But he'll want to win the game. I just know he'll want to win the game, and Wone and Stone will want to win the game. I mean, Wone scored against Malmo. It was his away goal that got us through, and Stone set that up as well. So, you know, there's a lot of history there. They're not going to want to not beat Malmo at home.
And I think as well, I think Steve's right about wanting to win. I think they'll probably want to win the game in terms of building momentum, not like a 1-0 win, a 90th minute penalty. They'll probably want to go out there and build it to, you know, a really tough game against Brighton on Sunday as well. Emily, so I can tee that up.
They'll absolutely want to build that momentum, and so they should. And I think that, you know, the last two results in the Premier League will have just given Forest that boost of confidence that we've been desperately crying out for, haven't we? You know, the performances are just getting better and better, and I think that after Saturday's win at Anfield, they'll feel that they can beat anyone, and I think they'll be full of confidence. And yeah, I think you're right, Steve. Hopefully there's a balance of some, you know, more fringy players with the spine of the team that we know and love. What I don't want though is for players, so for example, a Murillo picking up an injury on Thursday, which rules him out for Sunday. But absolutely, I think the momentum needs to build, and I think if we can beat Malmo on Thursday, then we go into Sunday's game against Brighton full of confidence, having all those wins on the bounce. And I think anything but a win on Thursday would feel very disappointing for Forest. And I think, like you say, if we nick it 1-0, that will feel a bit disappointing. We should comfortably be beating Malmo. And as I've said, with the right attitude, which I'm sure Sean Dyche will be instilling in those players, hopefully it'll be another win for the mighty Reds.
Good point from Dan Skate, that we do still have to play two of the higher ranked teams in Ferencváros and Braga, so we can pick up points from those. I'll come back to that point. I put it on by mistake, but it's a good one. If we can beat those guys, then it sets us up nicely to go through. Quick word for the Trent navigation: Friday night, Legends of Rock. Get your tickets now. It's 15 quid. It's more on the door, so book it in advance. Gigantic.com. There's also the Take That gig, and that's in December the 12th. And obviously, there's the pre-match build-up on Thursday night with Fothers, and this game is live on the big screen, indoors and outdoors. So view it all at the NAV and make a good night of it. Right, I'll just go back to that comment and put it to both of you. It says here, be nice to beat Malmo. Brighton's a game we need to win. Change the team, give players a rest. And I was just thinking, start with Steve. Have you changed your perception of the Europa League? Because I have a bit. I mean, I was so worried about relegation that I was just like, the Europa League a sideshow. And suddenly now I'm less worried about relegation. And I think, oh, actually, the Europa League is really interesting. And, you know, we'll talk about the possibility of winning it. Are you in that camp as well, Steve? Or have you always thought Europe is, a real opportunity and we've got to go full tilt at it?
I've always wanted us to go full tilt at it because it doesn't come around very often. Look, this is 30 years since we were last in Europe. You know, who's to say when we'll get the chance again? I think the phrase too good to go down, but I don't think we'll go down. I really don't. And I'm even more so after Saturday. And that sort of cemented anyway for me when we appointed Dyche. I just thought we're going to be okay. We're going to climb up the table. You know, it's a long season, you know. But the Europa League, we've got a few games. And before we know it, we could be in a semi-final or final. We win the thing, win the Champions League. I mean, you know, I don't want to do a Matt Ford and get carried away, but, you know, it's within touching distance if we can string a few wins together. And, you know, we've seen in the Europa League, some of these teams they're not Premier League standard, are they?
How are you feeling about the comp, Emily? Has your view changed at all or not?
I've always been, I would say I've always been all in, similarly to Steve. I remember the 95, 96 season, but not well enough to have proper memories from it, really. I think I went to a couple of home games, but again, I don't really remember it. I didn't watch it in the same way as a kid. So I would say I'm less anxious about the league now. We're still only a point off relegation, and there's an awful long way to go, but I feel like the tide's starting to turn in that respect. But I've always been wanting us to progress in Europe. I wouldn't want to sacrifice Europe for the Premier League, for example, but it just feels like we can do both now. Definitely do both, and just they're playing with confidence. So yeah, I mean, it's how often do we get a European campaign? Once every 30 years, if we're lucky. So just enjoy it, and I'm same as Steve. If we can get through to the knockouts, get a very decent route through to the final, who knows? That's Istanbul in May and lifting a European trophy again. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah, Champions League next season. Here we come. Yeah, I think my views are tarnished by the person I am, and also I just worry about relegation work-wise, to be honest. So perhaps
Yes.
that was
Yes.
in the back of my mind more than anything. Right, let's go into teams then. We've all done one. There are differences in all three. I've probably made mistakes in at least one of them, but we'll start with Steve, as this is his match preview debut. So guest of honour, Steve has got Sells in goal, Savona, Milenkovic, Morato, Williams, midfield two of Yates and Dominguez, and then Undoy and Hudson-Odoi on the flanks, James McAtee in behind, Callum Wendo, although there is a qualification on that. Steve, tell us what your thinking is.
Yeah, so the qualification up front is that if anybody else was fit, in terms of Wood or Awoniyi, I'd play them. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jesus is on the bench and doesn't play at least some part in the game, because he's high on confidence and will want to keep playing well. I know that some people want to rest the keeper, but for me, I was in Graz. The keeper had two things to do, and he fluffed both of them. So I'm just much more confident with Sells in goal, and I don't think you need to rest keepers. I really don't. In effect, I've rested Murillo for Morato, and I think that's acceptable. And I've rested Anderson and Gibbs-White in midfield, and Sangare. And I think there's enough in that team that should win that game, and you keep the rest of them on the bench. I'd maybe not have Anderson on the bench at all, just give him a complete night off like we did in Graz. But this team there, that should be enough to beat Malmo 2 or 3-0, really, if we can score.
Any other players on that team that you would like to rest but can't for squad reasons or injury reasons?
Well, Milenkovic and Williams are both crucial as well, but I just don't think we've got the players that can come in, and possibly Milenkovic, but then that would be changing your two centre backs, and I think I'm not sure about that. Williams at some point is going to need a rest, but I think that's going to have to wait till Aina's back.
Yeah, possibly so. Possibly so. Let's go to Emily's team. I'm sure I've made a mistake in this one, and then we'll do mine, and we'll talk around a few other names. Emily has got John Victor in goal, Savona, Milenkovic, Morato, Williams, Yates and Sangare in midfield, McAtee, Gibbs-White, Dan and Doy, and then it says Callum Wendo up front, but it's probably not meant to be. Emily, tell us what you're thinking.
Yeah, first things first, you have got it slightly wrong, but you've got a lot to do, Matt. You've got a lot on your plate. I actually went with Jesus up front because I think that Saturday's performance for him, although he didn't get a goal, he should have got a goal, but although he didn't get his goal, I've never seen a striker work so hard for a team, and he feels like he's starting to build, and he's got goals in Europe already, and I just think stick him up front and the goals will come on Thursday. So if I go back to the beginning, I totally agree with you. I don't feel like Sells needs a resting goal. It's more that I feel like John needs to play some football, because God forbid Sells get an injury, then we're in serious trouble in the Premier League. I too watched the Sturm Graz game, Steve, and yeah, it wasn't pretty, was it? It was wow. Okay, and I think against tougher opposition, we could have been in real trouble. But I feel like this could be a game where we could get him some proper game time. The back four, I've gone the same as Steve as well. I am desperate to give Nico Williams a rest. Because he just doesn't get a rest internationally in the Premier League, in the Cups, in Europe. But for me, he's the one player that I don't trust any other player in his position. So unfortunately, he's too good. He's too good to drop, and there's no backup until Ola's back. And Milenkovic, I toyed with giving him a rest, but I feel like we need one of either Murillo or Milenkovic in that centre back position, just in case. And Murillo always looks like he's on the verge of an injury, and I'm terrified of him picking up an injury. He always looks like he's done 10 rounds of Tyson, doesn't he, by the end of the game? So he definitely needs a rest, which is why I've put Morato in there, who's done okay. And then Anderson, I think, absolutely deserves the night off, a bit like Nico Williams. He worked so hard for club and country that he needs a night off. I'm sticking Yates in there just to keep the Yates haters happy. And then forwards wise, I've mentioned Jesus. Gibbs White is starting to find form again. He's scored in the last 3 games. He needs to continue because I feel like he's the sort of player that he builds and builds and builds and builds, and he'll be integral to our creativity on Thursday. McAtee needs to find some form in the team because he just cannot get into that Premier League team for love nor money. Can't even get a sub appearance. And Ndoye over Callum Hudson-Odoi, because I'm not quite convinced that Hudson-Odoi is completely fit. And again, I would hate for him to pick up something or re-injure himself on Thursday and then not be right for Brighton on Sunday. So that's my team.
I think Morgan's in my team, Emily. Partly because I don't think he's a player who looks like he needs a rest. But do you worry about just him playing too much or not?
No, he doesn't feel like that at the moment. I think that the ones that I really worry about are Nico Williams, Elliot Anderson, and Murillo. Just the fear of the sheer work they put in and the amount of minutes they play. Whereas Gibbs White, I don't know why, he just seems less valuable. I don't know why, but I feel like, particularly because he had such an awful start to the season and got a lot of stick from fans, obviously missed out on his England squad position, and he's starting to turn it round, and I think he'll be desperate to play. I really do. And I think that if Yates is in the squad as captain, then that takes a bit of pressure off Gibbs White, and he can feed Jesus all night, hopefully. But yeah, I have no issues with overplaying him. He feels like a Duracell bunny that's just got boundless energy, and I think he's all right at the moment.
Yeah, I think so. I think him and Dominguez are sort of in that mould, certainly. I'll just put my team up, go through it, and then we'll chat about a couple of the other names that we've all selected. John Victor in goal, Zach Abbott right back, Milenkovic, Morato, Williams, Yates and Dominguez in midfield, McAtee, Gibbs White, Hudson-Odoi, and Callum Wendo up front. I'm of the same opinion of the goalkeeper. He really worried me against Graz, but I don't think we'll need Sells, hopefully, in this one. And I want to see, hopefully, John Victor gets some confidence. I mean, he was nominated for the world's best goalkeeper, so he can't be as bad as he looked in Graz. So I'd like to see a little bit more of him to hopefully change my opinion to some degree. I really want to see Zach Abbott get a go. I think he looks pretty bright when he came on against Graz. And also, I think Savona's earned a rest. He's played quite a lot of football for a young lad, so I don't mind him being fully charged for Brighton. Same opinion as everyone on Murillo. I think Sangare probably, I know he's playing 90 minutes and looking sharp, but he can maybe just do with a rest, although he does have AFCON coming up, which is great for him, but a shame for us, just when he's really building Forest momentum. And then we'll talk a little bit more about McAtee and Callum Wendo. I think, as Emily said, if Hudson-Odoi isn't quite 100%, then you don't play him. But if he's fit, then I think Dan Ndoye is another Duracell bunny, but he probably could do with a rest, having played both games for Switzerland in the last international break. McAtee and Callum Wendo, Steve, really for various reasons, basically didn't play very well. McAtee was all right. Kind of blew their chance against Graz. Is this a big chance to them, or do you think Daesh has made their mind up on both of them already?
No, I think there's still time for both of them. And with injuries and suspensions and everything, there's got to be, aren't there, certainly until the transfer window, and see where we are and who might come in or go out. But McAtee is a very, very skillful player. He was unlucky with that shot that he had from the free kick in Graz. We thought that was going in. It just went past the post. I think, his game time is going to be limited because of the players that we've got in those positions. But I would definitely think he's got something to offer. Callum Wendo looked a bit lost at Graz. He really did. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if Daesh doesn't start with Jesus, just to try and get some, get the game won in the first half if we can, and then swap them out. But again, confidence is an incredible thing. If Callum Wendo plays on Thursday and gets a goal early doors, we might see a different player. Obviously, there was something in him. We paid a lot of money for him. Just one other thing. You picked Abbott. A lot of people in the chat saying, if we can't play Abbott, why have we not sent him out on loan? That's a fair point. And, I was a bit torn about giving Abbott a game at right back. And maybe on reflection, I probably should have as well.
I was a bit facetious there about McAtee and Callum Wendo. I mean, I do actually. I really like McAtee as a player. I don't know, Emily, if he fits at Forest in this team, but as a footballer, I think he's got a lot about him. So have you made your mind up on him, or do you think that he could make it at Forest in the right circumstances?
Yeah, he absolutely could. It's still really early days for him, isn't it? And he's been one of the unlucky ones that in all the different shift and change of managers, he's not quite fit in. His real skill is his skill. He's a footballer. He plays football. He knows how to find the pass. He can dribble. He's possibly a little bit lightweight at the moment, but that could be to do with his age. He maybe needs to bulk up a little bit, get a bit stronger. But I think that this might be the perfect competition for him to find his form. And he feels like the sort of player to me that if he gets that one goal, I think that will really boost his confidence. He's in the unfortunate position that he's the understudy to all the positions that he plays in, and at the moment he's not shifting anyone out of that position in the Premier League, which is why I wanted him to start on Thursday. And actually, listening to you both talk about Abbott, on reflection, I feel that actually this is the game for him to start. We know he'll give it his all. We saw what he did at Wembley for us in the FA Cup semi-final, and if he's not playing for us, he absolutely should be out on loan because he's a young footballer that needs to play minutes, and there's no point in him sat on the bench or sat in the academy. So, wouldn't it be wonderful if he could come on and have a great game on Thursday as well?
Yeah, I think he can do a good job for us, definitely. I mean, I guess for McAtee, Steve, Hutchinson's probably a really good example. I mean, he's a bit lightweight, but he's come on, he's beaten players, he's made things happen. I think McAtee's got that about him in a different way. He's very graceful and he can glide past players. It's just now he's got to take his opportunity, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he had a bit of cameo at Palace, didn't he? The second game of the season, he came on for a bit and he looked quite good. And, obviously he suffered like all the squad players have with the turmoil of Nuno going at the Ange bizarre games, etc. I think, McAtee has, he's come through the Man City Academy, had 2 good years at Sheffield United. And I think it's just a matter of, if he has a good couple of games, whether it's in Europa League or off the bench in the Premier League, it could cement him and he could be with us for a long time. So I've got a lot of hope for McAtee.
And Calmuendo, Emily, I mean, I thought he's really struggled when he came on against Betis and against Graz, but against Swansea, I thought he was bright. Still think his goal should have stood, and obviously he scored 17 goals for Rennes last season. So there's definitely a player there. Is it just confidence with him, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think it is confidence, and he's a classic case of really, really struggling to settle in this country, struggling to settle in the club. That doesn't mean that it's all over for him. Sangare took a long time to settle in for various reasons, and he's now, one of the first picks in midfield. I wouldn't ever want to write a player off, and I wouldn't want to write him off. And the only reason I went with Jesus over him is just because of the form that Jesus is in at the moment, and I kind of want him to get the golden boot in the Europa League as well. So selfishly, but I think for Calmuendo, hopefully Sean Dyche is putting an arm around the old shoulder and telling him that his time will come and just to keep going. And he's another player that you think that if he could just get a couple of goals maybe on Thursday, if he does play, whether it's as a sub appearance or whether he starts for Forest, that might really help kick on for him. I don't think we'd ever expect, though, would we, to have 4 strikers at the club, which is what we've got at the moment, because there was always talk that Awoniyi either wouldn't be back match fit or he might go off elsewhere. So it's a really unusual position for him to be in as well. But no, I'm certainly not writing him off at the moment, and I wouldn't want to do that. And yeah, wouldn't it be wonderful if he could just get that goal on Thursday, just to give him a little boost of confidence?
Yeah, I don't think we can carry 4 strikers still. I think there's only one other Premier League club that has that, and that's Spurs. So I think one of them is really gonna have to go. Just one more on Calmuendo. I don't think if Calmuendo had started against Liverpool, don't think it would have worked at all, because Igor Jesus held the ball up so well. But in a game where we're at home and we're expected to have more possession, then I don't know if Dyche really 100% feels like he fits. I don't know, Steve. But in this sort of match, this could be a good platform for Calmuendo, couldn't it?
Yeah, because he's going to have a few chances, hopefully, against that Malmo defence, and one of them's just got to go in. He did look off the pace at Graz. Ball bounced off him a couple of times, but there again, we were down to the bare bones at Graz in terms of the team. in a way, I know why Dyche did it at the end when we sort of ended up with no striker on for the last 10 minutes at Liverpool. But, you know, he could have come on for that last 10 minutes at Liverpool. We're 3-0 up. We weren't going to lose from there. So I don't know where he fits in. But if everybody else is either injured or they want to rest Jesus, he's going to have to play on Thursday. And the crowd need to get behind him. I mean, we need to have a big night at the City Ground crowd-wise, and we need to get behind every player, you know, and give them the backing.
Here's a quick notional question, which is pointless, but I quite like these questions. At the start of at the end of next season, will any of our 4 strikers still be at the club? Woods 30 will be 34. Taiwo, we've discussed Callum Wendo. Igor Jesus is the only one I'd really pin things on and say, yeah, I really think he's here for years to come. Do you, of those 4, Emily, who will still be here at the end of next season?
Yeah, I agree. I think Chris Woods, probably his last Premier League season with us, certainly, isn't it? Taiwo Awoniyi, wouldn't it be wonderful if he could find fitness? But I can't see that happening. And then Callum Wendo, he needs to start scoring goals, but I guess he needs to start playing before he can start scoring goals. So for me, I said it at the beginning of the season, Jesus is my pick for top scorer for Forest, and I stand by that. I think once he scores his first Premier League goal, there'll be no stopping him. So yeah, I think probably just Jesus for sure, but possibly Callum Wendo as well.
Steve, same question, just quickly.
Yeah, I think it depends if Dyche is still here, because he kind of likes a big striker, and if Taiwo could get his fitness. But we keep saying if Taiwo could get his fitness. The last time he came on, Taiwo, he looked like he was really quick again, and then he's now missing more games. So I can't see Taiwo and Wood still being here at the end of next season. Jesus, yeah. Callum Wendo, is there another place he can play? Could he play down the wings? I'm not sure.
Yeah, he can play in a 2, and he did play a bit off the right, and I think he played like 2 games off the left or something for Rennes. People can correct me if I'm wrong. But he doesn't have to play number 9, but I think that's his preferred position, certainly. We've got a lot of wingers.
He could maybe go out on loan in January to back to France or wherever, pick up some confidence and come back next summer and try again.
Possibly so. Yeah, so in the chat I can see Trent saying, Wood's contract is up at the end of next season, so I don't think he's going to get another one because of his age, and he might want one more big contract somewhere else abroad. I don't know about that, but fair point. Right, let's just before we wrap things up, talk about, because obviously we're brilliant now after beating Liverpool, winning the Europa League. So I was looking at the teams in it. I mean, I wrote down like 16 or 17 teams that could win the competition. But in the bookies odds, as it stands right now, Villa are favourites 4-1, Roma 17-2, Porto 9-1, and then us 11-1. And then you go through Betis, Lyon, Bologna, Braga, Lille, Celta, Vigo, etc., etc. There's loads of decent teams in it. Steve, you put a tweet out which is prompting this. You saying you think we can win the Europa League. How confident are you of that when you hear the other teams and the other odds? How realistic do you think it is?
Well, I certainly think it's still all to play for. Villa would, I think, Forest Villa final in Istanbul. How mad would that be? Roma are currently 18th in this league. So they've, not pulling up any trees at the moment. So I think a lot of it is depending on the next 4 games and who progresses and what sort of draw you get. But if the management of the club, if Dyche and Co prioritise it, if we get stable in the Premier League where we can maybe then on key games prioritise our better players for the Europa League, why not think that we can go and win it? There will be clearly some really big games as you get to quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals. But I think it's possible. I think you've got to have confidence. It's what being a fan's all about, innit? You might as well have some hope. I'm sort of in the Greg Mitchell camp for that, to kind of something to look forward to. And you see how we dealt with stuff on Saturday. I know Liverpool are not playing very well, but they've still got talent all over the pitch. I think Dyche is going to get us playing really well by the end of the season, and why can't we go all the way through?
Emily, you've got to dash because something's come
Yes.
up. Anything you want to add, or you've got to disappear?
I've got to go. Sorry, guys, to leave you hanging, but at least we got through the team news. Hopefully a win on Thursday, win on Sunday. Let's go. Come on, you Red. See you later.
Yes, we shall see Emily soon. Me and Steve will wrap things up. So, yeah, as I was saying, I mean, I do look at it and think we've got as good a chance as anyone. The two I would just pick out, Villa, because Emery's won the Europa League 3 times. Villa have got that European experience. And Roma, it's interesting, like Steve said there, about teams who are doing well domestically versus terrible in Europe. Roma are absolutely flying in Serie A. I think they've won 9 of 12 games. Nice are the other team that are absolutely stinking it up in Europe, but they're mid-table in the French league. So I think it's quite early and anything can happen. But it's just nice, Steve, isn't it, to be having this conversation after the things we've been discussing for relegation, 3 managers in a season already. It's just nice to be looking up, not down, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I went to Seville and I went to Graz. I'm not going to Utrecht, but I'm going to Braga. You don't know when these things are going to come round again. In 95, 96, I went to Malmo and I went to Auxerre. I didn't go to Lyon and Munich. If you'd have said to me at that time, you won't see another Forest in Europe again for 30 years, I'd have laughed at you. I thought, of course, we'll be there again soon, a couple of years maybe. And this might be our last year in Europe, so we've got to make the most of it. And fans are making the most of it. It's great now that those going to Utrecht without a ticket will be able to watch it in a fan zone. So that's a good piece of news that came out yesterday. But it is possible. We can, on our day, we can clearly beat anybody, as we've just shown. And it will depend a lot on if we get through this stage. A lot will depend on the luck of the draw. You look at who knocks each other out. You look back to the European Cup wins. We didn't play Real Madrid, did we? We played Grasshoppers, who knocked out Real Madrid to win the European Cup. So it just sometimes looks with you. And in terms of resting players, again, just a little stat. I look back at that European Cup win '79. I mean, everybody talks about everybody played every game. John Robertson did play every single game, every cup game, every European game, every league game. He did not miss a game that season. And most of the others, probably missed 2 or 3. So, I know football's different now, but I mean, them pitches were hard to play on.
It's like you're manifesting Gary. I love it.
There's
250 plus people with us, which is great. It's just me and Steve chatting now for about 5 more minutes. So appreciate everyone with us. Do hit like. Would be really good of you. I've got one more question for Steve, but just before that, quick word of thanks for Vesta Blinds. If you're looking for made-to-measure shutters or blinds across the East Midlands, click on the link in the description, or it's vestablinds.com if you are listening on Apple or Spotify, and they are the people for you. And they're run by a Forest fan who's a lovely guy in James. So thanks as ever to those guys. Just one more on winning the Europa League. Playing devil's advocate a bit, and I'm going to contradict my own question, which I often do. There's always the notion that Davies football isn't good enough. You come up against the top European team, they'll just counter it because it's low block hoofball. Do you subscribe to that? And contradicting myself, do you think that Davies has shown us already that there's more to him than that?
I think he's already shown that there's more to him than that. I think what was a revelation on Saturday was bringing Hutchinson on at 60 minutes and not Morato. And everybody talked about it, in the crowd. We were expecting Yatesy to come on at maybe earlier for Sangari, and he didn't come on until a bit later. But when he brought Hutchinson on, it gave everybody a boo. Oh God, we're still going for this, and it pinned them back. And I don't think he's a dinosaur at all. And I think Wone and Stone, they were attacking midfielders, weren't they? Apparently they're doing, sessions with the wingers and the attackers about how to make more use of the ball when you've got it and what to do. And you can just see the confidence has come back right across the team. You look at Murillo's face and the balls that he's pinging around now, and Gibbs White back, to what we know he can do. I think Dyche will relish this opportunity. He's wanted to manage Forest for a long time. You can see it in his attitude and in his interviews. Wouldn't he just love to have a European Cup next to his name? Why not?
No keynote that I've not mentioned on here before. I didn't realise Milenkovic can ping a ball as well. He was knocking a few really good long balls. I can't remember which game it was. It might have been Graz. I don't know, but they can both do it. I think they both enjoy it. So, yeah, it's all good to see. It's all good to see. Right, we shall be back tomorrow with there's 2 podcasts. There's a main one and a bonus one. So the main one is with Brian Laws. That'll be out later in the evening, probably. Or maybe even Thursday morning, but do check that out. And then we'll have the opposition preview as well for more on Malmo, their history and what state they're in today. So do check both of those out. Do hit like, do hit subscribe, consider membership or Patreon, or the lovely 5-star review on Apple or Spotify would be great. I do read them all and read all the Spotify comments. So appreciate everyone who contributes to that. Steve, anything you want to add before we let you go?
Just that everybody really in full voice on Thursday night. I hope it's a sellout. There was at some point tickets went on general sale, but I'd be gobsmacked if it's not a sellout on Thursday. And I just think we've got to be at it from the beginning. And I think if we can get 2 or 3-0 up by half time, even rest some more players, what a boost that will be going into Brighton.
Yeah, that's the dream. If you can give Gibbs White an hour and then take him off, or find someone who can play left back for 30 minutes if we're 3-0 up and take Nico off, then that'd be fantastic. Right, thanks to Steve. Match preview debuts and a sterling job because he's carried it for the last 11 minutes or so. So appreciate that. Like I say, we'll be back tomorrow. Do hit like, and if we don't see you tomorrow, we shall see you soon.